Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap, and the devil knows this. Talk is cheap, and the devil knows this. In parentheses will be politics. Okay, politics. All right. All right. So first off, I like to say, Kal Halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Bahashim Rahwa Kodesh Thawada Yahweh for giving us Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who have the 100% spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai in them. Double honors to the CT bishops, elders of GMS, our Big Akim, and greetings and salutations to the Akim in this country and all over the world, prophesying in the true name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, which is none other than the power of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody who are descendants from those people on their father's side. Shalom to those who are scattered abroad. I am your Iquab, Lord willing, serving the King of the universe, King Yahushai, from the power of Yahweh. All right, and so the title once again is Talk is Cheap. All right, and the devil knows this. In parentheses will be politics. So the main point of this show will be basically going into the word politics, referencing politicians, which this nation, America, hence Babylon, the great in the scriptures, is governed by. But really, what I want to go into is the word. Pretty much, if you go into the word, it's the meaning, and politics is all about. It's my opinion. Well, not my opinion. Really, what it is. When we go through the words, you're going to see that it's smoke and mirrors. It's a gray area for truth, between the elites, the rich, and the poor, or the ruling class, the bureaucracy, so to speak, and then the civilians. Because, because again, politics goes back to, or politician goes back to policy, right? And you have a system where you elect people to represent you, right? Supposedly to fight for your rights and pass policies to favor the civilians. So they advertise it to you like they work for you, but initially it's not. It's we're going to go into why it's not, because that's where Satan or the devil basically means diablo, which means slander or a liar. All right, and pretty much the cat's out the bag, if I'm saying that right. That pretty much politicians are nothing but liars. They're still saying the same rhetoric from the 70s and the 60s in 2025, especially towards our people. But now we're in a time where, of course, the Most High Yahweh and the Son Yahushai, they're revealing, which that's what the last days encompass, a revelation of wickedness and of lies. Because the ultimate thing, lying is ultimately wicked. It's the wickedness is one of the highest form of wickedness is to lie. All right. Scripture say, let your yea be nay and your nay be nay. You shouldn't have to swear, proving that these courts in your government or in the system, they're not even going by the statutes of the scriptures, which is only given to the nation of Israel. You're not supposed to swear in the Bible. Leviticus 19 and something, I forget where it is, 27 or somewhere, or 12, where you don't swear in the Bible. Say, let your yea be nay, yea be nay. The Lord said that in Matthew's the 5th chapter, and I forget my point, Salakia, but the point was that, that when you say something, right, it's backed up by action. And all the things that the politicians have been saying, right, they haven't backed it up. Okay, they backed it up by lies. And that's why this system is set up and designed so perfectly for Satan to infiltrate, because it's playing on the minds of the people. And it's really, if you really look at it, meditate on it, and know, a higher mind, which is there's no higher mind than the men of the Lord. The elect are the ones that believe in the Lord. Is that it's basically a pacifier, to pacify the citizens, right? And to how should I say, and to brainwash the people, to give you people talking points that don't make sense, and to divide many points to this. But the main point I want to go into, Lord willing, we're going to go into the word politician and prove that that's where Satan dwells. In this title, a politician, uh, or the politicians. Okay, and and again, the devil knows this. All right, proving to you that what we're about to go into, proving to you that Satan does exist, and he exists in your speech, in lying. Okay, um, so I got scriptures I want to bring out, and we're gonna go right into it, Lord willing. So may the Lord be with this. This is actually a redo. I did this video on the 17th. Okay, when my internet was down. Time goes so fast. It's the 15th already, basically a month later. And so the water Yabashima I'm able to revisit it. Hold up. All right, so this is stemming off. I did a show on the 19th, right? James, the third chapter. Talk is cheap and going into the tongue. Now, Apostle show I was looking at yesterday. He went into Apostle Orion Lab, and Apostle Ram Lab did a show going into James the third chapter. So it's a spirit because I just did, I did a show on that, as you can see. But this was the second part of what I did, because what the show I'm doing now was the first show, and I kind of say it in this video. So again, if you want to check out this point, because this was another point of talk is cheap, just going into the tongue, a world of iniquity, But anyway, this comes from that show again, me doing a redo. But again, I just remembered going off what Apostle did yesterday, so everything's a little well connected in the spirit. So you can check out this. This will be in the description. And then I did a part 2 to that right here. It's called "Talk is Cheap," but not for the elect, or the 1/3, which is and the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. All right, because there's an elect within the elect. All right, so you got the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, which is the friends and family, immediate family of the prophets, and you have the ones who are going to be healed. All right, in the name of the Lord, who are destined to be healed in the near future by spiritual power of faith. All right, but starting with their faith. So that's the 1/3. But so talk is cheap. Ultimately, is not cheap to the elect, and I'm talking about the talk of Yahweh Bashimashai. All right, through the scriptures. All right, by way of the prophets, and you reading, because when you're reading the scriptures, you're actually having dialogue and conversation with Yahweh Bashimashai. Hence this show, Isaiah 34:16. Seek out of the book and read, none shall harm mate. When you go into the definition of the word read, it means to have a conversation, dialogue, following the instructions. So you want to talk to the Lord, just pick up your scriptures. So anyway, those who pick up the scriptures, which is in the spirit and an Israelite, to believe. All right, it's not the talk of the Lord. It's not cheap to us. It's very valuable, or merit. It's worthy. Actually, that's what read means. It means following opinion offered, worthy to be followed. All right, and worthy means merit. So you best believe the word of the Lord is his. His opinion is truth, and that's worthy to be followed, but only for the elect. So anyway, so this is again stemming from that. Okay, these shows. So let's get right into it. Go into the word politician. I got it right here. Now, when you go into the word politician, there's another definition I remember. I couldn't look it up, but when you really go into it and you dig into it, which we're about to see right now, it's a demeaning it's demeaning. All right, it's a demeaning definition if you dig. So initially, what it says, politician, it says, and again, you're gonna see that this is an avenue for Satan to come in. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing, because a lot of the other two shows I was going into was body language. So a lot of what you say is only 7% of communication. I'll say it like this: communication is 55% body language. Your body communicates more than anything. Then second is your tone of voice, right? Your tone of voice, which is 38%, I believe. And then the rest, right, is 7% of your words mean anything or communicate anything. So what does that tell you? That basically you got to look at someone's body language and you got to hear their tone of voice, right, to really get a sense of they're telling the truth. All right. Okay. So that goes for this show, and that goes for all the people who believe in the Lord claiming they're prophets, right? You should analyze them that way. Their body language, their tone of voice, eye contact, things of that nature, and overall their words. But only the elect will see the truth. So it's like I'm going on. So this is politician. And again, you examine the body language of the men of the Lord or the Holy Spirit. It's starting with the apostles of GMS, okay, and on down. All GMS members, man, for the all GMS members, right, for the most part, right? Look at our body language. Look at our tone of voice, right? Backed up by the words, not our words, of the Heavenly Father. So Slakia. Politician means a politician is a person who campaigns for or holds a position in government. A politician may start a career by running for a local office like mayor, but could eventually serve nationally in Congress or even as a president. So if we go here, look at this definition, right? Well, that's a person acting party, but this is where it gets demeaning, right? So it says a schemer who tries to gain advantage in an organization in a sly or underhanded ways. Okay? We hit more. It says a plotter, a schemer, a planner who draws up a personal scheme of action. Okay? So again, we look up this is not positive. Okay? That's part of the definition of politics or politician, right? So again, when you look at the politics of America, and right, this is what you gotta keep in mind. All right, you can't get away from these definitions that define your leaders, and majority of the time, right, a lot of these people, they come to find out that starting with your president, Trump, part of the he's part of a lot of accusations and schemes, the Epstein files, and that he's trying to hide away and create false flag attempts so people's minds can get off that. No matter what you do, the Charlie Kirk situation or any other distraction, it's not gonna make even his own supporters are can't get over the fact that he's on this Epstein situation, and he's trying to do away with it. Even accusing people of oh, you're still on that? That's old news. So anyway, a scheme. There's another word I'm thinking about. Scandals, right? Scandals. So yeah, a lot of politicians are involved in scandals, man. Scandals. All right, scheme. So let's look up scheme. Schemer. So it says a schemer, a person who is involved in making secret or underhanded plans. Okay? This is not positive, man. Underhanded. A plotter, a conspirator, or intruder. can't I'm pronouncing that right.
Intriguer.
Intriguer. The water. Whatever you are. Demon Chet, Capilot, whatever. All right, intriguer. Yeah, someone who makes people intrigued by their charisma, right? So, not really giving a definition. Oh, damn. Intriguer. Look at this. It says to arouse the interest, desire, or curiosity, right? So that's what a politician does. They arouse you by slogans, MAGA, make it great again, or make it America great again, or arouse you by making you go to war, right? Uh, um, WMP, weapons of mass destruction. If I'm saying right, WMDs, right? With Bush, he aroused the people to go to war, go into Iraq. Um, even Obama with "Yes We Can, Yes We Can." If you play it backwards, it says "Thank you, Satan, thank you, Satan." You know. So anyway, it says to arouse interest or desire or curiosity, right? To get, make, accomplish by secret scheming. So again, a lot of these politicians, they're a part of a secret society. A lot of them are, to be in that high grade with as far as a senator or even a judge, or we're talking about like presidents, um, things of that nature, on that high level, right? The ones who really make it they're all Masons, but who really gets really far are the high degree Masons, the 33rd degree Masons, or whatever have you. For you to be president, I believe you have to be 33rd degree Mason. Which is basically, if you do your research, witchcraft and engulfed with pagan symbolism. Okay, and basically it's a secret society. A lot of these Masons, Freemasons, 33rd, they're part of the Skulls and Bones. That's well known. And other ones. Right. So let's not stay too much on that word. Okay. So we were on let's go back here. Schemer, right? We were on schemer. So if you look at a person who's involved in making a secret or underhanded plan. Self-explanatory, right? Not good. And then again, you have a schemer who tries to gain an advantage in an organization. An organization, in this case, being America, right? An organized business organizations, right? Because you have a president, you have a vice president, you have a cabinet, right? You have shareholders. So, America's nothing but a business. That's why it's the biggest commercial or commerce as far as buying and selling in the world. It's all about buying and selling. A consuming market, a merchant city. So the real name for America is Homeland Security, right? Which is a business. So again, politicians know, but schemers trying to get more inside of this Homeland Security, right? In sly or underhanded ways. Underhanded ways means by bribery, okay, by nepotism. You see a lot of these people in politics are related. I think by out of all people, Obama is related to somehow Dick Cheney. Okay, and you could, if I'm not, you could fact check these. A lot of these politicians, all you gotta type in politicians related. A plotter, a schemer, who draws up personal scheme of action, right? So right now, what's going on? You can look at the politics of America, like supposedly, if you got eyes to see, man, this whole thing with the peace thing, and I did a show on that too. I called it out early during the year in February, that Looking at some stuff, I deemed through the spirit, February of 2025, we're in October, deemed through the spirit that Trump is basically trying to be a peacemaker. And you know what the scriptures say: when there shall be peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them. So right there, we're right at that time, and nothing, and things that's going on now with supposedly Trump being supposedly making peace between Israel and Hamas is totally 100% political theater, political game. Okay, and everybody, only the dummies. Most people are falling for that. So that's one demeaning definition, right? Because ultimately, all these politics, they're leading towards getting you into the one world new world order system, okay? Which is ultimately for you to get a chip implanted in you. All right, this is where politics is going. This is where they're tricking you, and this is the plans that they have, and that they all agree with. All this stuff that these politicians disagree with, but they all agree. You're gonna see on this chip. So let's go another one. Okay, if we go to another definition, an etymology, right? Politician. It says a person skilled in politics, la la la, especially engaged in party politics, especially as trade, la la la. Let's go to the point. Okay, it says, and thus it quickly took overtones, not typically good ones. Yeah, so it's not typically a good thing. A definition of politician. It says one concerned, okay, one concerned with public affairs for the sake of profit or of a clique. All right. Boom. One concerned with public affairs, right? Not the citizens, but public affairs. Well, so-called public affairs, right? But the public affairs of the rich, right? Again, it says for the sake of profit or of a clique. All right, because the main thing about politicians, the deeper you go inside of this clique to make certain ties with certain higher ups, it's all about, I'll say it like this: Myra M. Shabara, the father of the international bankers, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, of the current system you have today. He said, "Give me controls of a nation's money. I care not who makes their laws." All right. You control a nation's money, which is done by the Federal Reserve Act, which is pushed in, in 1918. I don't think it was Woodrow Wilson. I forget the person. In 1918, right, and that was in the first attempt. They were been trying to pass that Federal Reserve note since the 1860s or 70s. That's why they took out Abraham Lincoln, because he was trying to separate himself from the banks. Making some called the green banks, the greenback or green something, Slovakia out there, right? But anyway, it was finally passed in 1918, right? And they finally infiltrated the American system, right? Where now the Federal Reserve note, the Federal Reserve note was tied into the government system, and in so many words, it tied into the banks, that they have control of laws, because now with the people that are elected into office, they're able to bribe them. And if I'm going off, I don't want to go too far from research, but hold up. Yeah, I got it here because I ain't trying to lose anybody or sound stupid, So, Federal Reserve note passed under what president? So it was passed again. I was right, under Woodrow Wilson in 19. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, 13. The act was passed and Congress signed Wilson 19. I thought it was 18. 1913. And it said the Federal Reserve Act was passed to reform the country's banking system and provide economic stability. Always something good, right? But Wilson campaigned the act because he was forced to, which created a decentralized central bank with a supervisory board in Washington, D.C. to oversee the regional banks, which is basically linked to the Bank of London. The new law established the Federal Reserve note as a national currency designed to be an elastic currency that could expand the country based on nations. All right. See a deeper dive. So let me look up something else. Okay, I typed in Woodrow Wilson's last words on the Federal Reserve Act. It says the bill passed on December 22nd, 1913, and President Wilson signed it into law the next day. It says later he regretted. Slakia. It says later he regretted what he had done. He is reported to have said before he died, I have unwittingly ruined my country. Let's look up some more stuff. Let's see if we can find some more stuff. Famous quote by Woodrow Wilson after signing the Federal Reserve into existence. It says, I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all of our activities are in the hands of a few men. Boom, right there. Okay. Talking about the elite banking families, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, you know, all the Bergs, whatever you call them, Oppenheimers, right? Job 90:24, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. You know, this is part of the major events that made Job 90:24 go to another level. Okay. You know, because again, give me controls of a nation's money, I care not who makes their laws. So again, this whole system changed into a credit system rather than actual having gold and silver to do trade and trade in certain goods. Everything's being tracked, you know, and it just became more sophisticated as time went on. Now in 2025 is going to get more sophisticated digitally, ultimately to off to a chip that's implanted in you, right? But we just read it there. We have come to be one of the worst. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and of the vote of majority, but the government by the opinion and duress of small group of dominant men. Boom. So I don't need to read no more. Okay, and this is back in 1913 or whatever year it is, and it's gotten exponentially worse since then. All right. So why? Because he signed it over the rights, everybody's rights, to the bankers. You know, so you have the illusion of wealth and money, but you don't. You just have a promise, and now the worth of the dollar can be controlled. You know, and you have a the only reason like the apostles always go into, the only reason that it's lasting overall, the Most High is involved, but on another level, because the people believe in the system, you know, for this green monopoly money to rule your lives. Okay, so let's go back. So we don't need to go anymore, right? We proved the point on that. So I'm almost done with these definitions. So we're gonna go back into politician. So again, it says, and this was quickly took overtones. Not typically, and remember, Woodrow Wilson was a president. He was a politician, right? Passing the policies of the elites, all right? You know, one concerned with public affairs for the sake of profit or a clique. And again, these people in politics are all about getting more inside over of this organization and lying to the people and getting set up by bribery and lobbyists, and by the major companies like today, like what you call a bureaucracy, whatever. A lot of these major tycoon companies, Exxon and whatever you want to think of, pay these politicians to favor laws that favor their business, right? Make the rich rich and the poor poor. Johnson defines it as a man of artifice, one of deep contrivance. All right, so that's that. Here's another demeaning definition. Politician, a person who seeks to gain power or advancement within an organization in ways that are generally disapproved. Okay? Not good, man. Another one, the third one. Politician, a person primarily, not little, but primarily interested in political office for what? Selfish or other narrow, usually short-sighted reasons. I mean, damn, it's not a good definition, man. Short-sighted means reachable. All right, what's reachable? Quick money, selling out, taking bribes. All right, being part more of the in crowd, and the in crowd, you got to be part of that society. You got to be a sellout. You got to be a sellout. And you got to and then in the higher levels is nepotism. Okay, so look at this. A person primarily interested in political office for selfish or other narrow, usually short-sighted reasons, and that involves lying to the people. Okay. Oh, a little bonus here. What's this? This says the city has too many scandals. Now, did I not say this word earlier? Right, scandals and problematic politicians like your own president who have not attached crucial sectors of our society. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go to the scriptures now. All right, and I got one of my favorites, man. Proverbs 17 verse 4, and it reads, right, a wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ear to a naughty tongue. Matter of fact, let me get something before this precept. Hold up. Let me get oh boy. Let me get it. Let me get a All right, so I got here. This is my precept before I get that next one, right? I always put these together. One of my favorites. So again, it'll speak for itself. Proverbs 14:5. It says, "A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies." Okay, again, a faithful witness. Faithful means trustworthy, and a witness means wit goes back to what? Having the knowledge of, having understanding. All right, so someone who is faithful is trustworthy. Why are they trustworthy? Because they have understanding. They have quick wit, and on a higher level, there's nobody that has the only wit and the best wit is the witness and the understanding of the Most High Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai. All right, so those are the prophets of the Heavenly Father. A faithful witness, trustworthy. Okay. Now, again, these politicians, they claim to be, so moral and divine, right? And set up making these talking points like they're in the best interest of the people. They act like they're divine. We're gonna make this and that. Anyway, so if there were that, a faithful witness would not lie. So that's not them. Because again, they've been saying the same shit since the 60s and 70s, man. All right. First of all, part of this country's politicians, they're about putting you so-called Jakes, excuse me, not so-called Jakes, so-called blacks and Latinos into slavery, man. That was the first law of America, and that was going on for hundreds of years. Not in just till under 100 years ago. Well, let's say, what, 150, 1865, a little bit over 150 years that, laws were passed to make supposedly so-called blacks free and Native Americans. But the most majority of America's existence has been laws uh, uh, um, to pass to go against our people, and they still are. So with the ICE situation, and now you got martial law and these in the hood, which is good. Get these little nigglets out of there. But overall, right? How according to this word, how are they trustworthy? Because all their understanding, which witness means, has been to get you so-called blacks and Latinos to exterminate your ass, and that's really the prophecies of the scriptures. All right, let's prove that. I'm gonna come back to this. Let's prove that in Psalms 83rd. It says right here. It says Psalms 82 and 83 and 2. For lo, thine enemies, which is the Psalm of David. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. Yeah, so obviously, an enemy. I'll read it again. For lo, thine enemies, right, make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Right? How do you know when somebody's your enemy? They hate you. They call you 3/5 of a man. That was passed into law by politicians, okay? By so-called demons, lying scientists, trying to deem so-called blacks being next to apes, and their brain is different from a skull is different. All these lies that the nation was built upon. And really, you're the closest thing to an ape or a Neanderthal. You're the come from the Caucasus Mountains, and you're the caveman. We can go to Job 30 to prove that. That you're the beast man. All right, you Edomites, man. That's the truth. Anyway, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult. Right? Was there not a tumult? Let's look that up. Word up, real quick. Tumult in the Hebrew is hama, okay, which means a roar, a noise, a disquieted, troubled, a loud, right? The KKK, us being rounded up into slavery. There's many conquistadors, many examples of a tumult against our people, right? Clamorous, which is loud, uproar, right? Look at Rosewood, look at Black Wall Street, right? I believe in Oklahoma. That was an uproar, that was a tumult. Even the government was involved in bombing that town. Retired people in our military were involved because they were envied Jake because we were doing better than them. Had our own system, barbershops, own businesses, own families, own school systems. The only thing, like Apostle always brings out, we didn't have a defense, we didn't have a military. It says to murmur, to growl, roar, cry aloud, mourn, rage, sound, make noise, tumult. So that's self-explanatory, man. Right? For lo, thine enemies have made a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Right? You got to be proud to say, to make an excuse to put so-called blacks and Latinos and Native Americans into slavery. Like you're better than us. When the Native Americans actually taught these Edomite dogs, rats, really, how to survive the harsh winters. All right, peaceful peoples for the most part. I mean, you did have some crazy Incas and Mayas that sacrificed their people, but you had other tribes that were more peaceful, civil. And they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against the hidden ones, right? They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And that's what it is. All right. Of all the people, everybody can be an Israelite but us, right? We can't be nothing. You know, we were imported into slavery. We're nothing but apes, and we're definitely not the people of the Lord, right? Scripture say the meek shall inherit the earth, right? And it's, please, there's so much proof out there that the Most High, the Lord, is a so-called black man. In the scriptures, number one, it says it. All right, Revelation 1:13, his son Yahweh Shai, so-called black man. That's what I'm talking about. Revelation 1:13. That's talking about the Lord. All right. Okay. And even throughout your history, you know, it was really Jake that created your Greek gods and all that kind of stuff, right? The Moors with Russian icons and etc. The Vikings, those are so-called black people. Pirates, so-called black men. The five good Romans, the five good Roman emperors, so-called black men. All right, Marcus Aurelius, right, all of them. For they have consulted they have consulted together with one consent, and they are confederate against thee. Right. Let's look up confederate. Yeah, they set up statutes to go against you. Confederate is Barayath. It's a covenant, I believe. Yeah, there you go, covenant. Yeah, because Britain, the word Britain goes back to man of the covenant. Ayash, Ayash. I remember Apostle Kabar brought it out, so it relates to that. British, right? If you look up man, let's look up man. I know my mind is connecting everything together. I can't help it. But let's look up man real quick. Well, it means Odama. But Ayash. Oh, I don't think that's the right one. No, that's Adam. I don't want to go too far, but you know, that's what it goes. Bayath means covenant, right? So let me just stay on track. So covenant, league, right? So yeah, there's been a covenant, there's been a league, there's been a constitution written against our people. Confederacy, Confederate, right? Right? Confederate flag. I mean, that means something else, but you know, Confederate flag is a symbol of racism for most. A covenant, alliance, pledge between men, treaty, alliance. Yeah, there were pledges and alliances to get rid of the Native Americans. The Indian Removal Act, okay, by Andrew Wilson, I believe, right, one of the presidents. So we got that. All right, so back to this real quick, right? So it says, a faithful witness will not lie, but false witness will utter lies. All right, so again, if these politicians were so upright and trustworthy, why everything they come out with is nothing but a lie, right? And it's easy to debunk. That's why they want to get rid of TikTok and all these other pundits, because everything they say can be disproved in under 5 minutes, right? When that thing happened with Charlie Kirk, all this information came out of that countered whatever that was. Okay, I'm not going to go into it, but it says, but a false witness will utter lies. Okay, but a false witness, someone who has false understanding, right, would utter lies. Okay, and that's your politicians. That points to them. So if they lie so much, what does that mean? They're false witnesses. They have the false understanding. So let's go to the precept of that. And matter of fact, does that keep going on? Okay, yeah. So boom, let's go to 17 verse 5. It says, whoso mocketh, 4. It says, a wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ear to a naughty tongue. So again, a wicked doer, you see the Lord is a subject of the sentence right there. A wicked doer. So what does a wicked do? A wicked doer do? He or they giveth heed to false lips. So that's the number one of the main attributes of someone who's wicked. They listen to lies. So the people who believe in this American government, right, by your lying politicians, we just proved, you're wicked. Okay, if you listen to this nation, right, and you believe, okay, it was one thing to listen, but the one thing to believe in what you're listening to. If you believe in this system, you're a wicked doer. All right. Because you give heed to false lips. And guess what? It keeps going. And a liar, which are your politicians, giveth ear to a naughty tongue. So the people who are lying to you, they listen to people who speak bad. All right, which are what the your ruling class, your elite banking families. Right, give me controls of a nation's money. I cannot who makes their laws. Meaning, these politicians are in the pocket of the rich, of the elite rich, the banking families. All right. Okay, so let's go through some of these real quick. I just typed in speak lies. It says, but the king shall rejoice in the Most High, right? Because a true king is an Israelite man, right? It says, and every one that sweareth by him shall glory, and that's only by default the nation of Israel, who are chosen to be kings, right? Because what do you are before a king? A prince, and that's our name, Yarsha Allah. He is the prince of the power, right? But it says, but the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped, right? So we know at the end of the day, this lying government by your politicians who are in the pocket of the international bankers, right? They're going to be stopped. And as the days go on, nobody believes in them, man, no more. All right, nobody believes in your politicians and American government. And if you do, you're wicked yourself. All right. Let's see what else. We'll keep reading. It says, none calleth for justice, nor any pleadeth for truth. They trust in vanity and speak lies. They conceive mischief and bring forth iniquity. Yeah. Let's go to that real quick. Hold up. That's Isaiah 69:4. Wait, why is it? Oh, 59. Okay. They hatch cockatrice eggs and weave the spider's web. He that eateth for their eggs dieth, and that which is crushed breaketh into a viper. The webs. So all right, we don't need to go there. Confession of wickedness. Therefore is a judgment far from us. Neither doth justice overtake us. We wait for light, but behold its obscurity. For brightness, but we walk in darkness. That's right. We grope for the wall like the blind, and we grope as if it had no eyes. We stumble at noonday as in the night. We are a desolate place as dead men. Yeah, because you believe in lies. Okay, you don't got the light of the Lord, the name of the Lord. Let's go back. Let's see. And they will deceive everyone his neighbor and will not speak the truth. They have taught their tongue to speak lies and weary themselves to commit iniquity. Ooh, look, there you go. The remnant of Israel. There, that's beautiful. The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity. That's the elect. All right. Because they're trustworthy witnesses. Like we read earlier, nor speak lies, the prophets. Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. Right. Like these other false camp leaders, IUIC, or now look at Alizé. He's not even in the picture no more. Right. He resigned. Okay. And they're lying. They lie to you. They don't believe in the mark of the beast. They don't believe in Jacob's trouble. Now they're slowly, they kicked the apostles out because they broke down Cornelius. Now they teach Cornelius. Now they're not acknowledging that they were wrong. Okay, so on and so forth. Be found in their mouth, for they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. Yeah. Again, the remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, the elect, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth, for they shall feed and lie down, feed the elect, and none shall make them afraid. That's right, like a lion, bold like a lion. A lion eats and lies down, and he ain't afraid. Single daughter of Zion, shout, O Israel, be glad and rejoice with all thy heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. The Lord hath taken away thy judgments. He has cast out thine enemy, the king of Israel. Even the Lord is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil anymore. I'm going to hurry up because this thing might cut off. So this is all beautiful here, but I'm going to finish off. Let me see, probably type of forges of lies. All right, I'm going to finish up here. So it says, I got here, Job 14, 13 and 4. It says, but ye are forges of lies. Ye are physicians of no value. All right, that's talking about You can couple that with the American government and the politicians. All they do is create lies, all right? And physicians don't, and they're gonna lie to you about the MOTB. You know, they're gonna say, make it sound good and make it sound as the best thing next to God. All right, they're gonna even say it's better than God, and but really it's for your demise, because they could just turn your ass off if you don't follow the government. They could just turn off your account and turn you off. All right, and then you're gonna be starving you and your family. All right, because you believe you fall for the trick. And here it is, the elect. Blessed is the man that maketh the Lord. It says man, by the way. Okay, that's where it starts. And anything under that, women and children, you're saved on behalf of the holy man of the Lord. So blessed is the man that maketh the Lord his trust, Yahweh, by Shemai and respecting not the proud, right? Nor such as turn aside the lies. Whoo, there you go. See, that's right. We don't respect the proud. The elect don't respect the proud, and they don't turn aside the lies. Here we go. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Boom. Right? That represents the nation of Edom, the wicked, but represents your politicians too. They're always born to be what they are, liars. All right, so I'm trying to stop, but this is 50 minutes. I don't want this to cut off. So I think I made the point. You know, oh, one of my favorite animals. I like the leopard though. Pound for pound, the strongest animal. I added the big cats. It's unique because it carries its prey into the trees. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, pray the Lord was with this video. Again, I gotta hurry up. It may cut off, but anyway, I'll say again, the title is "Talk is Cheap," and the devil knows this. Devil means slanderer, diablo, slanderer, a liar, and politician. Again, your politicians prove Satan is real. All right, because the evidence you're lied to, man, all the time. But the true men of the Lord, Yahweh Shemai Shai, we are faithful witnesses, and we're speaking prophecy of the Lord. We're bringing you in. And remember, we're the one. The Lord talked about the chariots, UFOs. Right now, your government lied about the UFOs. Politicians laughed about the UFOs 10, 20 years ago. Now politicians, your own president is talking about a space force. So look at that point. They were lying about that. Now they're telling the truth now somewhat. But they're not going to tell you there's so-called black men in there. The Lord's going to come back in a spaceship, man. That's the truth. We're telling you about that. We're telling you about the comeback of the Lord, the Spirit of the Lord, man. All right? And we telling you this name. So anyway, all right, so Kal Halal, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahushai Bahashim, Rokawada, Shalom.